get up for 7 something to eat breakfast because my overtime is at the morning time until 12. You go to bed, relax for a while, or you can go to sleep and wake up around 11, go to work for.
And that's on the ship?
Yeah.
Wow.
You have to make sure, hey, you got to do your duty, bro. It's well other times.
So I'm going to open up with a prayer. Brother Johnson, you want to open this up?
All right. Heavenly Father, Yah, we give you all honor, glory, and praise, oh Yah, for all that you've done for us, oh Yahweh. A lot of times, a lot of the things you do for us go unnoticed because we only seek for the things that we've asked for. There's even things that you cover us that we haven't even asked for, Yah. The ability to get up this morning, to go about our daily tasks, and then return safely, Yah. We give you thanks for those simple little things, oh Yahweh. And right now, Yah, we just ask for a portion of your spirit that you minister unto us, your messages, your word, your understanding. Open us up, O Yah, that we may be called gladly your servants, O Yah. Waiting upon you, O Yahweh, but we know that your servants have to be cleansed as well, Yahweh. So we pray that your sacrifice be upon us that cleanses us from sin, Yah, and we be acceptable in your sight. May we humbly come before you and bow our heads and partake of the set-apart spirit that gives us all understanding, Yah. In the name of Yahshua we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Go ahead and open up your class. No, I'll read.
All right. Shalom, shalom. Thank you for joining us, Israelites Gathering. I'm Giannis and Yasharal. I'm here with Yedan Yasharal.
Shalom.
And today's class is called Deliverance Through Righteousness. And the basic overview of that is that, we're under a lot of oppression and opposition spiritually in this world. And we have to know that our deliverance doesn't come necessarily by hand-to-hand combat or weapons of war, things of that nature. But we have to learn how to yield to the spirit of Yah within us. And once we get Yah's favor and Yah sees that we are genuine in our efforts, we'll find that we'll be delivered from all our problems, all our troubles. We'll see other people wearing themselves out through deeds and wearing themselves out through works. But they don't understand that it's the righteousness of this word that's going to be our true deliverance. So let's go ahead and open up first in Deuteronomy chapter 6. This one's also known as the Shema. And it's very imperative that we pay attention to this and apply it to our daily lives, because it's the groundwork. This law is the framework, the skeleton of how the body is built. If it's not built according to this word, it's not going to endure the flames and the fire that test it.
Come on. All right.
So we're at Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 6, and starts at verse 1.
Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, which Yahweh your Elohim commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land whither you go to possess it, that you mightest fear Yahweh your Elohim, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you and your son, and your son's son, all the days of your life, and that your days may be prolonged.
All right, brother. So right there, he says, you, your son, and your son's son. So it's very clear that he's establishing a culture and a lineage. So a lot of people look at these laws, statutes, and commandments and be like, oh, it's just this rigid, instructions. They don't want to do it. People always trying to find excuses to do their own thing. But little do they know that these things are your culture. It's not just, oh, this is a restriction of the law. No, this is how you keep your culture thriving and keep the morality in it. One of the things that made the headlines recently is that about 86% of Americans feel like America's not a moral country anymore. Right. As opposed to some other time when we know America wasn't built on moral principles to begin with. But in order to perpetuate a righteous cycle of families and your lineage, you have to have some kind of structure to it. Some people, it's the last name. If you keep this last name going, we gonna always have our honor in the earth. Well, y'all saying if you keep these laws, statutes, and commandments going, you're gonna always have righteousness to go about. You don't have to worry about the murders and the slaying of your children and the curses, the wombs that don't bear, and the fruit that don't bear, and the tree that don't bear, and your basket's never full. Y'all saying if you stick to this order and you teach your sons, and your whole lineage, it's gonna stick to it. You're gonna continue building up your culture.
Right, and I like the point that you brought up, how we carnally talk about keeping our last name and keeping it going. Well, when we talk about honoring Yah's name and giving glory to his name, that's how we do it, by keeping this same culture, teaching our sons and our daughters and actually walking in these things. Indeed. And that is keeping his name. That's his Shem. But we like to take his Shem and make it just an appellation, just a name. But no, his fame and his name is his laws, statutes, and commandments as well.
Which is one of the reasons why he says, I've surnamed you this day.
Exactly.
Yasharal. We get his real surname.
Upright.
Indeed.
With all. Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 3.
Isaiah says Facebook isn't streaming.
All right, let me check it again. It's been giving us that pump fake again. Says live.
Do you have your Josephus?
He has it.
You have your Josephus, Brother Mikhail?
We're going to try it again. It said it was streaming, but we'll hit it up again. All right. All right, so we're at Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 6, and we're at verse 3. Hear, therefore, O Yasharal, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahweh Elohim of your fathers has promised you, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahweh our Elohim is one Yahweh. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rises up.
All right, brother. In all honesty, that verse right there is like one of my favorite verses in this whole chapter. And I believe this is repeated again in chapter 11, where it's teach your children this. And I think one of the issues that parents might have, they think, when's the appropriate time to let my child know about such and such and such and such? We might try to water down the message and things of that nature. But when you read about anytime these people, Israel was coming back from any captivity, somebody is charged with reading the law. And it always says they left nothing out. They explain the whole thing, because when the enemy is preaching to your children in season and out of season, there's nothing that he leaves out.
Right.
Your children know everything, so we have to do the same thing for our lineage, for our son's son, that we don't leave out parts that are important of this word. Speak to them in season, out of season, when you rise up, when you sleep, so that it's all part of their culture. There's no part of it that's left out, but they grow a familiarity. Whereas, just like how they introduce new stuff to us in the beginning, they introduced homosexuality on the TV. At first, we're like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe this is on the TV."
Right.
Whereas now it's like, it's nothing. But we want our children. Whereas in the beginning they're like, "Wow, this word is something else," but over time it becomes their go-to. Right. One of the explanations I gave to Brother Mikhail was like, whenever we walk into a dark room, we want the light on. Without even knowing, we automatically just do this and hit the switch, because we've been trained to do such a thing. It's a reflex. So we also want this word and righteousness to also be a reflex for our children. Maybe we may have struggled with it at some point, but at least our children, they get stronger and stronger because they learn that, my dad taught me this, and this is all I know to teach my children in its fullness when we rise up and when we lay down.
All right. Deuteronomy, Devarim chapter 6 and verse 8. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And it shall be, when Yahweh your Elohim shall have brought you into the land which he sware unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Yashak, and to Jacob, to give you great and goodly cities which you built not, and houses full of all good things which you filled up not, and wells digged which you digged not, vineyards and olive trees which you planted not, when you shall have eaten and be full. Then beware, lest you forget Yahweh, which brought you forth out of the land of Mizraim, from the house of bondage. You shall fear Yahweh your Elohim, and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after other mighty ones, of the mighty ones of the people which are round about you. For Yahweh your Elohim is a jealous Elohim among you, lest the anger of Yahweh your Elohim be kindled against you, and destroy you from off the face of the earth.
All right, brother. So right there, Yah's letting it be known. Don't go whoring and serving other gods. You made a covenant with me. And for some reason, a lot of people seem to have issue with that concept of, why would Yahweh be jealous of me? And I've heard that being said, but it's not he's jealous of you. He's jealous for your undivided attention. Just like how when you have a spouse, you want your spouse's attention, not like you're just being attention hungry, but you know that keep that covenant we have for one another. Take care of my feelings, take care of my emotions, say the things that make me happy. Don't do the things that you know make me upset. And then if that's too much for you, people go and get a different spouse. And that's not the way Yah wants things to be done. When you made that covenant with Yah, when you said, yes, we shall do, yes, or you took that baptism under Yahshua, you basically made that covenant that Yahweh, I'm for you, you're for me. I'll do the things that please you, so to speak. But just like anything else, if you worked for your pay and you agreed that after I've done all this work, after I've labored from 9 to 8 o'clock for the last 3 weeks straight, at the end of this I'm supposed to get about $9,000. Right. And you made that's a good job. And you made the covenant that we agreed at $9,000. Imagine at the end of it, they're like, oh, we don't have any of your money. You understand? And so when you say to Yah that, you're my Elohim, and all of a sudden this other God shows up, it's like, hold on, all the work I did concerning you given unto another Elohim, and you created another God. So it's like you all that inheritance is lost because you ruined it, you soiled it. So if we, on a humanly level, can have respect for what we promised, we need to make sure we give that same promise unto Yah.
Right. And just understanding the concept of Elohim, he's a spirit. He's not a man. So when a man marries a woman, for her to commit adultery, she has to let another man penetrate her. That's not her husband. Well, that's not the same thing with Yahweh. He's a spirit. He's not penetrating us fleshly like a husband does a wife. He's spiritually penetrating by putting his righteousness on us, his laws, his statutes, his judgments, his blessings. Now, when we take that marriage where there's not supposed to be any other types of spirits or ways penetrating our inside of our body, and then now we do those things that are other mighty ones that are less than him, evil spirits, and we do those things, that's that evil spirit penetrating his wife. So that's spiritual adultery. So when we're doing all these things that are against him, he's jealous because he's like, wait a minute, I made you a perfect vessel from the beginning. It wasn't supposed to be nothing but holiness and righteousness in you. And you allowed this person to come over here, this spirit, and invade you. Did you scream out?
None.
Did you yell? Say, whoa, wait a minute. I don't want to do this righteousness. Yahweh, help me. No, you embraced it and you did it with your free will. Just like that wife has free will to commit adultery. She can willingly do that. So that spiritual adultery he takes very seriously.
Indeed.
Deuteronomy chapter 6, and we're at verse 15.
1 second. I don't know if you're using my phone with this, but you're going to go crazy with it, but I start talking on it. But it's unmuted. I just want to make a quick suggestion on that. We were just talking about, having adulterous nature, if, from with a layman's point of view, or a carnal point of view to a spiritual point of view. But what about also when you don't want to believe in the Messiah, but you put your faith in something else? That's adultery also. I look at it like this: if Yah in the scripture has been talking about the arrival of the Son, the coming of the Son, in many areas of scripture, and prophesying about His Son, and you deny His Son, it tells you if you deny the Son of the Most High, He's going to deny you before His Father. So I look at it like this, right? Yes, people be misusing and changing the name and so forth like that. Calling him Jesus and all that kind of stuff. And say, okay, well, at least you're studying about the Messiah. He also dealing with His father. But you can also learn how to change the name. When you learn how to correct the name comes up. You learn that it's Yeshua. But when you deny the Father's Son and the reason why He came, then you deny the Father too. You tell him the Father's a liar. Or you tell him that this book is a liar. But you need to do more research and you need to stop doing these type of things because you're not going to take the Messiah out of the book.
Right.
So I think people need to get their priorities straight. There's a reason why He came. So I just want to bring that point up because I know you brothers have deeper points on it.
Right. All right. Devarim chapter 6 and verse 15. For Yahweh your Elohim is a jealous Elohim among you, lest the anger of Yahweh your Elohim be kindled against you and destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahweh your Elohim as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim and His testimonies and His statutes, which He has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right and good in the sight of Yahweh, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the good land which Yahweh sware unto your fathers, to cast out all your enemies from before you, as Yahweh has spoken. And when your son asks you in time to come, saying, what mean these testimonies and the statutes and judgments which Yahweh your Elohim have commanded you? Then you shall say unto your son, we were Pharaoh's bondmen in Mizraim, and Yahweh brought us out of Mizraim with a mighty hand. And Yahweh showed signs and wonders, great and sore, upon Mizraim, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes. And He brought us out from there, that He might bring us in, to give us the land which He sware unto our fathers. And Yahweh commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahweh our Elohim, for our good always, that He might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness, if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahweh our Elohim, as He has commanded us.
Amen. So it's pretty clear that this deliverance didn't just come because, I just like you guys so much. He showed His initial love. It's not that we loved Him, but He loved us. So He showed us initially, look at what I'm ready to do for you if you be obedient. And they saw all the wonders and they saw all the majesty of Yahweh. And He's saying, if you want more of this and you want to maintain it, He gave them a free sample. It's like, if you want to maintain this, you're going to have to do this through righteous means. You can't just do whatever you want and think that everything's going to be okay with you, because it says He's a jealous Elohim. You can't make your own self the idol and serve your own stomach. You have to do as He has said, so that the land will favor you. Or if you don't do what He says, the land's going to cast you out. And there's several different ways you see in the scriptures how the land has cast people out.
Right. And what would make us any different than the nations that were in the land before?
Nothing.
Or the Gentiles, the Euro-Gentiles, or any of the other people that do what they see right in their own eyes. What would make us special? It would actually make us worse, because He showed Himself to us. He didn't show Himself to these other nations. So we can't take the mind frame of, we're going to do what we want to do, and Yahweh we're going to blackmail Yahweh.
No.
It don't work that way.
Because he'll cut you off and make Moshe'ites. Like, you can't, you got to go with his flow.
Bring your children in,
It
man.
almost was Moshe.
Exactly. So we'll continue in Deuteronomy 29 and just see, now that they've gotten this deliverance, Yahweh gives them understanding of how to maintain your deliverance and stay on top and reflect his nature. Go ahead, Brother Mikhail.
Oh, you just wanted to know about, we always became Moshiites, because of our disbelief and hard-headedness and stiff-neckedness and so forth. So, not believing, in the Messiah would also cause Yahweh to be jealous and angry at you also, because he made a point about his son, and he made a good point there, brother, that he got angry at us because we was the people that he came to, the only people that he came to, and made a covenant with us. And if you look in Deuteronomy chapter 6 or verse chapter 4 or something like that, I believe it says about he led other nations astray. And gave us the covenants. He didn't give us the moon, the stars and the sun to worship and nothing else. No, he gave us him. So there was a reason why he led us on one direction and led the rest of the world in another direction to teach his children to understand what his government is, laying down his laws, teaching us how to serve him. So we can go to the nations and teach them how to serve the Father, if they will be chosen to serve the Father, if they will accept serving the Father. So we can't throw out the Father and then throw out the Son with it too, when he came down to sacrifice himself for us. They'll bring that point up.
Indeed. So we'll go over Deuteronomy 29, and see Yahweh reinforce how badly he needs his obedience from us in order to maintain it. Because Yahweh's not going to reward unrighteousness. He's only going to reward righteousness, or else we're going to find ourselves delivered unto all our enemies.
Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 1. These are the words of the covenant which Yahweh commanded Moshe to make with the children of Yasharah in the land of Moab, beside the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. And Moshe called unto all Yasharah and said unto them, You have seen all that Yahweh did before your eyes in the land of Mizraim unto Pharaoh and unto all his servants and unto all his land. The great temptations which your eyes have seen, the signs and those great miracles. Yet Yahweh have not given you a heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear unto this day. And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness. Your clothes are not waxen old upon you, and your shoe is not waxen old upon your foot. You have not eaten bread, neither have you drink wine or strong drink, that you might know that I am Yahweh your Elohim. And when you came unto this place, Sihon, the king of Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, came out against us unto battle, and we smote them. And we took their land, and gave it for an inheritance unto the Reubenites, and the Gadites, and to the half tribe of Manasseh. Keep therefore the words of the covenant, and do them, that you may prosper in all that you do. You stand this day, all of you, before Yahweh your Elohim, your captains of your tribes, your elders, and your officers, with all the men of Yasharah, your little ones, your wives, and the stranger that is in your camp, from the hewer of the wood unto the drawer of your water, that you should enter into the covenant with Yahweh your Elohim, and into his oath, which Yahweh your Elohim make with you this day.
All right, brother. So let's refresh the minds of the listeners as well. So Yahweh is saying that, look, I led you out of Mitzrayim. I led you out of Egypt with signs, wonders, and temptations. And then, but he also says in verse 4, yet Yahweh has not given you a heart to perceive and eyes to see and ears to hear unto this day. And the way he can say that and the way you understand that is because they tempted him at the waters of Meribah, the waters of Marah. They call them Marah. But basically, they're still murmuring, right. Still finding they're unable to be fulfilled. You understand? Unfulfillment in their hearts. After all that, Yahweh is still showing them.
Right.
So he's showing that there's a wickedness in your heart. If by all these signs, wonders, and things, you don't understand that I'm basically drawing out the iniquity from you.
Right.
If I'm giving you all good and you guys can only manage to return me evil, we're showing this day that there's a controversy between me and you. So yeah, you're called according to the flesh. You're called according to that bloodline. But I'm going to purge out that iniquity that's in y'all. Because I'm showing you very early, at the beginnings of all of this, y'all got stuff that I'm going to have to work out of you. And he's laying out all the parameters of this agreement in the contract he has with Israel. Like, look, you do the right thing, I'm going to bless you. You do the wrong thing, you're going to get some serious chastisement. And he's showing it because we're a standard for the whole world to partake of, because he had a Genesis before there was Hebrew and Eber, there was a Genesis ideal that man should dwell in peace. But we don't understand that. So now he's winnowing it down. He's going to say, let me show the world righteousness through this tribe. But then he's like, hold on, I can't even purge the world because this one tribe alone has so much iniquity and things I have to purge out of them.
Right.
I'm gonna have to wrestle with them for these next 4,000 or so years.
Right. And that was a very good point about Yahweh not giving you a heart to perceive and eyes to see and ears to hear unto this day. If he has done these great signs and these miracles and you rejecting them, how can he open up your eyes and your heart to the greatness and the fullness of Yahweh when you can't even deal with the carnal things you've seen with your eye, the miracles? How are you gonna too much is given, much is expected? Y'all fallen and we fell with that. So if he starts opening up these scriptures, it's the same with us right now. We have had the scriptures opened up to us through Yahshua HaMashiach and the disciples and the prophets and many, many years of brothers before us that carried the torch, and we're being held accountable for that. So imagine if he starts opening up the secrets of these mysteries. We tripping on this. So this is why he was like, I can't give you a heart and eyes to see and ears to hear yet, because I'm gonna have to kill you off. Because now it's ultra disrespectful. Because not only did you see all these miracles, you witnessed it, but now you understand within your heart and you still not control.
Willful rebellion.
That's where I was gonna go with it.
Right.
Rebellion.
Blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. You know the truth.
Ananias and Sapphira. You made a covenant. You said what you're gonna say. You could have backed out then. You understand? You said, well, I thought too heavy on this way, man. I need to think a little deeper on this. You could have backed out, but just a little bit, not this much. But no, you let it go to the last, how you say, second. You understand? And when you was found out, you died. The woman was asked about it. She did not say, oh, well, I can follow my husband, or I made a mistake or something like that. No. Now you both of you dead. You was found out and you dead. That's what y'all was talking about right here. And later on, we're going to get that heart. Remember? We're going to train that stony heart to a fleshly heart. He's going to give us that heart.
Right. That's the new covenant. Right.
Not now. We have to learn the hard way right now so we don't die. Because that whipping is too hard.
And you know what's the interesting part, brother, is that we can't out-patience Yahweh. He's like, we act rebellious in front of him. Y'all's like, listen, I got nothing but time. You'll probably die before we end up getting to the conclusion. So if you want to get your reward in this life, humble yourself. Come before me humble as a child, or we can work this out. Or you just waste your whole life and just die a dark death, and now we know we'll judge you at the end. But you didn't get to really see the goodness of what I could have gave you in this life.
You could serve him in a wheelchair, 90 years old, and saying, hey, praise Yah, and repent. You can do that.
You can do that.
Or you could serve him while you're young, make some sacrifice here and there, and test this thing out and see see what we haven't done is we haven't proven how much can Yahweh truly bless his children. We won't prove it. If we actually really go out there and stick through these things that we think is so hard, he doesn't have nobody to raise up high and be like, look at my servants. Because every time we get in something, we like, man, I'm going back to the world. And it says that right in here, unless you have the falling away, none of these things are going to come to pass. So we're at Devarim chapter 29, Deuteronomy, and verse 13. That he may establish you today for a people unto himself, and that he may be unto you a awe, as he has said unto you, And he has sworn unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Yashak, and Jacob. Neither with you only do I make this covenant and this oath, but with him that stands here with us this day before Yahweh our Elohim, and also with him that is not here with us this day. For you know how we have dwelt in the land of Mizraim, and how we came through the nations which you passed by. And you have seen their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which were among them. Lest there should be among you a man or a woman or family or tribe whose heart turns away this day from Yahweh our Elohim to go and serve the mighty ones of those nations. Lest there should be among you a root that beareth gall and wormwood. And it came to pass, when he hears the words of this curse, that he blessed himself in his heart, saying, I shall have peace, though I walk in the imagination of my heart, to add drunkenness to thirst.
All right, brother. So right there is letting you know that you're gonna have to suffer for those wrongs that you're doing. But I'm telling you, do the right thing to the best that I've shown you, which is a perfect example. But he said, don't get the heart, because he knows the stony heart that some of these people left Egypt with.
Right.
You know, no one left completely righteous. Mm-hmm. You're in a place where there's nothing but paganisms and things going on. So a lot of people left unclean, but sacrifice was made for them. Everybody had to kill that lamb before they left. Everybody had to smear their doorposts with the blood. So unclean the imaginations was still unclean before him, and it was manifesting where as soon as Moshe left, there's a whole new idol when he comes to return. So there's evil. There's evil in the camp.
Right back to what
they reverted right back to what they were doing before. And Yah's letting you know, like, let me put it to you straight. Let me get that presumptuous mind out of you. Don't think that you're gonna hear all these commandments today, and then in the conceits of your heart think, I'm gonna just continue doing. Yeah, I'm gonna be straight.
Of your heart.
I can still do the evils I was doing before and still get by. Yah's letting you know, like, it's not gonna go like that. It's not gonna go like that. You're not gonna only be thirsty, and then when you do drink, add the drunkenness to it. I'm trying to remove you from the filth and the iniquity. Don't sit here and wallow in the old mindset, or you're gonna find yourself cut off.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy chapter 29 and verse 20. Yahweh would not spare him, but then the anger of Yahweh and his jealousy shall smoke against that man, and all the curses that are written in his book shall lie upon him, and Yahweh shall blot out his name from under heaven. And Yahweh shall separate him unto evil out of all the tribes of Yasharal, according to all the curses of the covenant that are written in the book of the law. So that the generation to come of your children that shall rise up after you, and the stranger that shall come from a far land, shall say, when they see the plagues of that land and the sickness which Yahweh hath laid upon it, and that the whole land thereof is brimstone and salt and burning, that it is not sown nor beareth, nor any grass grows therein, like the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, which Yahweh overthrew in his anger and in his wrath. Even all nations shall say, wherefore have Yahweh done this unto this land? What meaneth the heat of this great anger? Then men shall say, because they have forsaken the covenant of Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, which he made with them when he brought them forth out of the land of Mizraim. For they went and served other els, and worshipped them, els whom they knew not, and whom he had not given unto them. And the anger of Yahweh was kindled against this land, to bring upon it all the curses that are written in this book. And Yahweh rooted them out of their land in anger, and in wrath, and in great indignation, and cast them into another land, as it is this day. The secret things belong to Yahweh our Elohim, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law.
Amen. Amen. So now we're going to move on to Judges. What's the Hebrew for Judges?
Shotim.
Shotim. chapter 2. And what happens is after Moshe passes, given the law and things of that nature, Yeshua takes over, Joshua. And he's leading the children of Israel, winning wars and things of that nature. But they still have an inclination within them to do what's wrong. And the way it shows itself is that after Yeshua dies and the elders that were alive with him, Israel goes right back reverting to their wickedness. And the thing is that what's becomes evident is that they're not retaining to the righteousness of Yah.
Right.
They're not keeping it renewed. Anything it's like a pond. If the water is not flowing and it's not moving, it's going to become stagnant, and the corruption is going to show. But they're not renewing themselves in the spirit of Yah. And you can see it happening. They're making intermarriages with the Canaanites, with who they were told not to make marriages with. And it's going to bear fruit. And Yah pretty much lets them know that, hey, this is going to be a stumbling to you. So let's go ahead and read about it in Judges chapter 2.
Judges, Shotim, chapter 2 and verse 1. And the angel of Yahweh came upon from Gilgal to Bochim, and said, I made you to go up out of Mizraim, and have brought you unto the land which I swear unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant with you. And you shall make no league with the inhabitants of this land. You shall throw down their altars. But you have not obeyed my voice. Why have you done this? Wherefore I also said, I will not drive them out from before you, but they shall be as thorns in your sides, and their mighty ones shall be a snare unto you. And it came to pass, when the angel of Yahweh spake these words unto all the children of Yasharal, that the people lifted up their voice and wept. And they called the name of that place Bochim, and they sacrificed there unto Yahweh. And when Yeshua had let the people go, the children of Yasharal went every man into his inheritance to possess the land.
All right, I wanted to look at the word right there. That word Bochim is H1066, Bochim, which means weeping. Mm-hmm. It's a place near Gilgal where the children of Yasharal wept. And what this shows is that the angel had to come and appear before them and bring to mind the evils that they've been doing. Mm-hmm. And show, look, you guys didn't follow all that Yahweh asked you to do. He said he's going to give you vineyards you didn't plant, homes you never built, all these things. And they living in the land doing well. They have all these Canaanite women that they're sleeping with. Everyone's happy. They're seeing their children. And then the angel shows up and lets them know, y'all are in the wrong right now. And it's going to be a stumbling to you. And everyone is new, trying to defend, their homes and their children. And the angel lets it be. And they probably were pricked in their heart. And that's why the name of the place is named Bochim. Right. Weeping. Where the children of Israel were made to understand that they have done wrong. And if you could think now, the only way they would have been able to do such transgression is if they're not defending and not renewing themselves according to Yah's word, going around making sure that someone's speaking the scriptures to them, things of that nature. Because right after Yeshua died, they're only doing the wrong things. They're serving the idols of the land. Right. And making intermarriages with the people there.
Right. Judges, Shotim, chapter 2 and verse 7. And the people served Yahweh all the days of Yeshua and all the days of the elders that outlived Yeshua, who had seen all the great works of the land that he did for Yasharal. And Yeshua, the son of Nun, the servant of Yahweh, died, being 110 years old. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath-Heres, in the mount of Ephraim, on the north side of the hill of Gaash. And also all that generation were gathered unto their fathers, and there arose another generation after them, which knew not Yahweh, nor yet the works which he had done for Yasharal. And the children of Yasharal did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and served Baalim. And they forsook Yahweh, Elohim of their fathers, which brought them out of the land of Mizraim, and followed other mighty ones of the mighty ones of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked Yahweh to anger. And when he's talking about these new generations coming up that don't know Yahweh, how is this?
They didn't follow Deuteronomy 6.
Did we just read that? They're supposed to teach their children. But I'm sure they taught their children, because it said that the men were, followed Yahweh while Yahshua was alive, and the elders and so forth and so on. But did they teach them diligently?
No.
They probably told them, hey, you ain't supposed to do that. We got to do this. But they're not diligently teaching them. They, Bible study, taught. Every other day, they gone about doing their business.
True. Sunday alone.
Because how could they not forget? How could they just forget Yahweh? If you are being entrenched in this culture and constantly, your father is constantly on your behind about something. Your mama's like, man, everything about Yahweh.
Yeah.
I can't even watch a commercial. It ain't about Yahweh. Everything is about Yahweh.
Indeed.
Then they ain't gonna forget, because it says when they get old, your children,
from it.
they won't depart from it. Not when they running around, little hard heads.
Brother, I mean, look at what they said when Yeshua passed on, when he died. That's when they started forgetting. It's like they didn't, they left their salvation, the knowledge of their salvation under Yeshua. When he died, you understand, it's like then they threw it to the side. They really didn't care. They didn't take up the gauntlet, they didn't take up the torch and to teach their children, as we had just read in the previous book.
Right.
So you're correct about that. So can we say it was the fathers, the elders, that did not follow what Yahweh said to do? And said they didn't teach their children diligently? Or was it another entity that came in there and said, well, I'm going to put my hands over their ears, over their eyes, because this is a good opportunity to pull them away from the word. Just like today, all the different things that people do to not read or not listen to what the scriptures really have to say, and try to do their own thing. So we have to look at that situation. There's a reason why, they didn't follow Yahweh, they pushed away from Yahweh.
Judges chapter 2, and we're at verse 10.
No,
We're at verse 13.
13? Okay. And they forsook Yahweh and served Baal Ashtaroth. And the anger of Yahweh was hot against Yasharal. And he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them. And he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. Whithersoever they went out, the hand of Yahweh was against them for evil, as Yahweh had said, and as Yahweh had sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed. Nevertheless, Yahweh raised up judges, which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them.
So we understand that they started the pattern of rebellion. So the name of the class is deliverance through righteousness. What happens when you do wickedness?
You get delivered unto the wicked.
You get delivered into bondage.
Right.
So it's bondage by wickedness, and you have deliverance through righteousness. And that's the contrast. If you want your freedom, do the right thing. Submit to what Yah told you to do. But if you don't want freedom, hey, by all means, do all the sin you love to do in life. Just be ready and get the thick enough skin to endure the wickedness that's going to chase you for it.
Right.
There's a thing to it, brother.
Go ahead, Elder.
There's a thing to that, it makes very good sense what you just said. But see, back in that day, our Father was truly making a point, because he was establishing his government, establishing his chosen people, trying to get their minds right to do his will. Today, Yahweh is the same yesterday, today, as tomorrow. He's still trying to do the same thing, yet our people don't see themselves being destroyed immediately like the people back in the day. When you took those people and put them under their enemies, many of them died. You're not talking about that at a certain point, but many of them died. They were slaves, So they, how you treat slaves, you treat them like they want to treat them, and like they treated our slaves here, our people here, but yet our people don't see today. We're still being dealt with because you will not follow, our people will not follow. We did not follow Yahweh at the time, So by the grace of Yahweh, we are still alive today to understand His true will. You know what I mean? But our people out there today are being slaughtered. And the reason that we do see it more because we got Facebook, we got phones, we can record it. But they're still doing the same thing they did in the past. They just didn't see it as much. Or they didn't talk about it as much because we were, I say the Bible, we were the subhumans. You understand? So they didn't care about it. Everybody joined in and they had a picnic, you know what I mean? When they did their dirt, So today people, look at it like, this is horrendous. This is atrocities. Yes, it is. But yet you're seeing it more now, but why your eyes ain't truly open to the reason why it's really happening. You need to sit down and really listen and read their book and understand why is this really happening. They did it for 9/11 when bombs and people was getting destroyed and people died in New York. Everybody in the church was full because they wanted to understand reasons. They wanted answers. But yet once the dust settled, people walked away from their churches and didn't bother to crack a Bible. Got dirt on the top of the Bibles now. You can plant a flower on it because it got so much dust on it. You understand? So our people need to open their eyes. Indeed.
At least with the dirt, something bear fruit.
Something.
Right. The sad part about it is, if I come with a bag full of apple seeds and you see me physically plant the apple seeds, and everybody knows what apple seed looks like when they used to have seeds and apples, and you plant the seed, nobody's going to doubt that if a plant grows up, an apple tree is going to grow there.
That's right.
But we feel that because of the marketing that the adversary has done out here, that we going to plant wickedness and a righteous reward is just going to grow up out of that. And we are taught that that's what that seed is. Matter of fact, that's not a wicked seed. That's a good seed. Why? Because you feel good about it. And the problem is, once your brain is programmed that way and the wrinkles are made in that function, in the synapses and the neurons move across the synapses in that direction and that connection, it has to be reprogrammed. Because that's how you understand that, hey, I do what I do, and if it feels right to me, it must be right.
Like wicked is good, good is wicked.
And we've been programmed that way. Hey, don't tell me nothing about it either, or you judging me. But we have to reprogram our brains, and we're not just going to read through this book once or twice and evade sin once or twice and feel like our brain is reprogrammed. This is why it says you must endure, because our brains did not get this way overnight.
No.
And that's why with our children, it's pressed upon, diligently put this in their heads. Because everywhere they go, the devil's marketing is out there, marketing them. No, that's not true. You can do what you want to do. I don't believe all that. Look what everybody else is doing. You can do what they do. And the only righteousness they hear is in their home and around they family in Christ. That's it. That's all they hear. So the little opportunities we have, we got to press that in there, because it's not even going to be a drop in the bucket compared to how much wickedness they face on a daily basis. Saturated.
That's trouble with Saul. Wanting the king over us instead of having Yahweh in his arms. He kept telling them, don't do it. This is what you're going to get. But yet, that's the same understanding of today. We get pulled away about the distractions out there in the world. Oh, this is great. This is fabulous. All this kind of stuff. And then you accepting the trash that the foreigners and the Gentiles and the ungodly and the heathens are throwing in your face.
Right.
And that's all great.
You got to comment using the phone, or they're not going to be able to hear you on YouTube.
What I was saying was that this is the distraction that we have today. I mean, back in the old days, they wanted Saul, they wanted a king like other nations. And Yah told Samuel, tell them what they was going to get. 3 times, but tell them what they was going to get. They're not going to get what they really think. But yet they're going to tell Yahweh that, it's not going to happen like that. It's going to be good. So you really going to tell Yahweh and straighten Yahweh out when he's trying to tell you how things are going to go. You're going to tell him, no, it's not going to go that way. But he's warning you the whole time. But he's giving you your choice. His submissive will he's allowing you to have. He's not beating you down and making you take him. He said, okay, but I could have been your God and your king. But you're going to see. In other words, you're going to see. Yet, what's going to happen? What's happening today? Where did they get them thoughts from back in the day when they saw other kingdoms? They thought it was all right and all great, and everything was good in a bag of chips? No. Today they think it's the same thing. The heathens are teaching our people what they think is righteous, and our people are going for it, saying, oh, this is good, this is going to be good for me. But yet you're locked in the system and we're getting our behinds kicked more than the heathens are.
Right.
And the Bible is playing out to the T that Gentiles come here and get higher than you. You see, they didn't make the covenant with Yahweh. We did. We break the covenant. We just read that Yahweh said he's not going to break the covenant with us. But you still got to stand up to it. Either you or your children or children, one of your generations is going to stand up to it, or they shall perish like you will. You know? So, we're going to run around the mountain, and Yahweh's still trying to pull us out this fire. You know, so all I'm saying is this: we need to take note. Yahweh is true yesterday, today, and will be true tomorrow. So we need to follow His recipe and stop falling into these pits, you know, and these distractions like we've been falling into by the heathens. Because he said what? You should have said, you do as your father do. You follow the adversary, the devil. Because you was following his father, there wouldn't be no argument. There wouldn't be no chastisement. You think about that.
All right, we're at Judges chapter 2, and we're at verse 17.
Okay.
And yet they would not hearken unto their judges, but they went a whoring after other mighty ones, and bowed themselves unto them. They turned quickly out the way which their fathers walked in, obeying the commandments of Yahweh, but they did not so. And when Yahweh raised them up judges, Yahweh was with the judge, and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For it repented Yahweh because of their groanings, by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them. And it came to pass, when the judge was dead, that they returned and corrupted themselves more than their fathers, in following other els to serve them, and to bow down unto them. They ceased not from their own doings, nor from their stubborn way.
Their stubborn way. So that's basically one of the things that keep them returning to the evils, because right here I have the note that it's always easy to serve false gods because the idols appeal to the inward carnality and desires of men. The idols were created by them. The idols were created by the nations around them. The nations around them created idols according to their own heart.
Right.
So if they had a sexual desire, guess what? That sexual desire is all formed up in that idol.
They create a phallic symbol.
Create a phallic symbol for it. They created a womb for it.
And they created an opening.
That's right.
Said this is where you come in.
Exactly. They create the gods to appeal to their inward carnal desire. They have gods for gluttony. I even forgot what the name of that one. Bacchus.
Yeah.
You know, for you to fulfill your gluttonous desire.
Yeah, you turn up.
You understand? They have gods for the love that you want, for fortune, everything except disciplining yourself under what Yah asked them to do.
I never heard of no God of discipline.
Everything except that's who Yahweh is. Yahweh is the Elohim of judgment.
I never heard no God of not whoring yourself out. You know, of being chaste.
Elohim of chastity.
Never heard of that. Never heard of that.
You got a virgin God?
They got killed. They didn't make it. Judges chapter 2 and verse 20. And the anger of Yahweh was hot against Yasharal. And he said, because that this people have transgressed my covenant, which I commanded their fathers, and have not hearkened unto my voice. I also will not henceforth drive out any from before them of the nations which Yahshua left when he died, that through them I may prove Yasharal, whether they will keep the way of Yahweh to walk therein, as their fathers did keep it, or not. Therefore Yahweh left those nations without driving them out hastily, neither delivered them into the hand of Yahshua.
So it's clear that Yasharal could not obtain the righteous deliverance that they were supposed to maintain.
Right.
They kept losing hold of their freedom, their sovereignty, their ability to operate as an independent nation. If you're not going to do the things Yahweh says, how about you don't want to be a servant of Yah, go ahead and be servants to other people, because you're not going to be, you're not competition to Yah.
Right.
He's not gonna have no competition. So either you're gonna do what's righteous or you're gonna be a servant of sin.
Right.
My brother, let me ask you this question. When we listen to all this, and see our people being silent and stiff-necked, I mean, really disrespectful to Yahweh. To me, I mean, you tell me what you see. To me, this is a covenant. This is Yahweh taking you and putting you in a golden covenant with all type of jewels, all type of blessings in it, throwing you in there and shaking it. And since you can't handle the gifting of God, because those blessings inside that covenant is for obedience. And if you can't handle that, you're going to fall to the holes. Because you don't want what Yahweh is trying to offer you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. You want it, as they say in here, by the imagination of our own heart. We don't want the imagination of Yah's heart. We don't want to give God his glory. We don't want, to obey Yahweh. No, we want the gifts. We want all the gold. We want all the jewels. We want all the the power. We want things our way. But yet, you can't have it that way with Yahweh if you don't show no obedience unto him. And that's what our power of our children, that's what the power of us. Is that we not yielding unto the Father. Uh-huh. And look at how he's telling us right here. He repented by listening to us wrong after he had to chastise us. So what he's doing, he's showing mercy upon us to deliver us out of it. And yet we still disobey Yahweh, disrespect him. And how you say, kick his gifts to the side. Because we disrespect what he's asking us to do. Mm-hmm. So we need to think about this, brothers. That's why I see that you being sifted. Only a few of us is going to hold on to Yahweh's commandments. Mm-hmm. Only a few of us is going to say, okay, you're right, Father. I'm going to do as you say, because I know you mean good for me. Every time I do what you tell me to do, I get blessed. I'm happy in my heart. I have peace in my heart. Mm-hmm. I don't have to turn myself around and worry about somebody trying to hit me in my back. Because you there with me. But that's why I think he says, in there that only a remnant is going to turn to me. Mm-hmm. Only that remnant, my brother very early about when he gave us the mysteries and the knowledge of the scripture, because we the ones that followed him. We the one that want it. That's who he's giving this to his children. Only a remnant is going to receive it. Yet this word has to go out still. It has to be published still to all to hear it. You can't get away from it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What y'all got to say?
What sticks out about that is that window of deliverance for our people, we can see it just getting narrower and narrower and narrower. And the people that they were esteeming as leaders are just showing that they're corrupt. So if you believe that you have even an inkling of this light in you, you have to like sit down and say, yeah, how do I stretch that? You understand? Like, being that our people have such a narrow window to know what direction to go, we have to know that we have to try to magnify that light for our people as much as we can. Mm-hmm. The little that we have left, knowing that the little that we have and other servants have is the last hope. Even to do something like this on Thursday, on Tuesdays and Saturdays, where that little window of hope can be open to someone who's scrolling down the timeline only seeing corruption the whole time.
Right. Gold and silver and jewels right now.
So exactly. So we only have, since that window was so little, the best we can do is try our best to perfect ourselves and be the best offering to Yah, so that Yah can use us to be a light unto the people that we're around, and stop doing and do our best not to give heed to the stubbornness of our own hearts, give heed to our own corruptions, because those are the things that even make the window even narrower for the people who were looking at you before. Mm-hmm. How to be delivered from the evils.
Right.
Brother, think about it like this. We don't realize that we're the gold, we're the silver, we're the jewels when he put us in that covenant. Now you reaching out for all this shiny gold and silver and all this light, but yet he sees into our hearts and says, no, you can't even hold on to it. It's like oil that's on the gold and silver and jewels.
Slipping out your hands.
Slipping right out your hands, and you falling into holes and falling into the crack. You are going through this calling the hole. Mm-hmm. Because you're not holding on to Yah's precepts. You're not holding on to Yah's covenants, his word, his truth. So how can you receive from Yahweh's hand if you slapping his hand to the side because you don't want his word, you don't want his truth?
It's not
How
gonna
do you
happen.
receive the gold when you the gold? How do you think we're gonna be tried in the fire? And he's gonna see the dross that comes up, and the rest of us pure is us with the dross. If you all dross, we're gonna say lake of fire and stay in lake of fire because we worthless. But if he puts us in the dross to try us, and our gold and our silver and our jewels come to the surface, then we can be used. We've got something left that Yahweh said can be hold on to. We became his children, truly became his children. Well, hearts have been changed. So that's why I look at it as a covenant, bro. All this stuff that's around it, we sliding through, falling through the holes, we can't even hold on to it.
Missing our blessing.
We missing our blessings, that's correct.
And just to elaborate on that furthermore, you know, you're talking about, you know, how that window is getting narrower and narrower, and the heat that is being put on the precious metal to melt away the impurities. Well, at first he said, you know what, I'm gonna leave you in your land, but I ain't gonna cut off the heathen. I'm gonna let the heathen that we didn't kill off. It was just small in numbers because we killed off majority of them, but they were small in numbers, and that's like the fire. That fire is going to prove you, if you're going to follow this little bit of flame that's over here, it's going to prove you whether or not you're going to serve me or not. That little fire wasn't enough fire to burn off our impurities. Boy. So he said, all right, so since you can't be in the land with a few of these heathens around you without following after what they do, well, I'm going to send you over there to some heathens that you ain't never seen before. They got gods that didn't even exist, that weren't even made up yet by the people that made them up. And now I'm going to cut that heat on real hot. And it's either going to melt you away, where you just turn into the fire like them, or you're going to be purified by this and be that shining light and say, nah, being around these heathens has showed me really I ain't like them. Yeah. That shows me that I'm different than them. And I'm going to be different so that other people that are different can come towards the same common goal that I'm chasing.
There's something about that do or die nature of Yah's chastisement, where in the beginning it scares you because you're like, there's a party that wants to keep doing the iniquity that you're doing. Like, do I really have to stop doing this? It's troublesome. It hurt because you're like, the flesh. Because you don't hear the audible voice saying you better stop doing this thing that you like to do at such and such and such a time during the day, or you better stop talking to such and such and such. You better stop being evil, and you'll have an inclination in your mind like, I think this is wrong, but I think Yah will let me slide with it. And when that do or die hand comes and it's like choking you, and you're like, whoa, you know. It removes that out of you, you know. In the beginning, you're afraid of it because you still want to make concessions for that stuff you like to do. But when you realize how dire and how serious situation is when Yah is done playing, when He's done being sorrowful for your pangings, and you know being remorseful and repenting that He hurt you, when you return back to the evils, you start seeing the mercy window start narrowing. You're like, I'm gonna die in my sins if I don't stop.
How many times you think Yahweh gonna let you slide? So when you give an inch, they gonna take a mile. That's what He's trying to tell you. Straighten up. Tell all of us, straighten up.
Indeed. So we're gonna go to Psalms 101, and we're gonna hear how Dawid intended to do what is righteous before Yah, because he was in sincere need of deliverance on multiple occasions.
So we're going Psalms Tehillim, chapter 101, and we're going to start this at verse 1. Tehillim 101, Psalms. I will sing of mercy and judgment. Unto you, O Yahweh, will I sing. I will behave myself wisely in a perfect way. Oh, when will you come unto me? I will walk within my house with a perfect heart. I will set no wicked thing before mine eyes. I hate the work of them that turn aside. It shall not cleave to me. A froward heart shall depart from me. I will not know a wicked person. Whoso privily slandereth his neighbor, him will I cut off. Him that has a high look and a proud heart will not I suffer. Mine eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land, that they may dwell with me. And he that walketh in a perfect way, he shall serve me.
All right, brother, this is my question. What do we know about being perfect before Yah?
Keep His commandments.
keep his commandments, and when you don't keep his commandments, you have to repent.
Now, was Job a righteous man?
Yes,
Now, was he a sinless man?
I don't know about sinless.
Exactly.
Right.
So when people hear perfect, they think no sin whatsoever.
Right. Never
But-
have sinned before.
Yeah, never have
Right.
sinned before, but it's not necessarily that. Are you seeking righteousness? Are you seeking Yah's commandments? We will stumble and fall, but part of that is our perfect nature of being renewed. Part of that is our perfect nature of seeking Yah. If we don't know that it's wrong, we end up doing it. But once we figure out that it's wrong, it's part of the renewing process and the growth and the change that Yah wants to see out of us. That all right, he does have a perfect heart, because when he's revealed, when he's exposed to this fire, he knows not to go that direction.
Right.
It doesn't destroy him. And that's the nature that Yah has put inside of us, to start seeking righteousness to the point of perfection, which is the end goal where we don't know sin. But you can have that heart that's seeking perfection, because we're soaked, saturated in sin right now. But if you direct your heart in a perfect way, and Dawid says this, I will behave myself wisely. I won't put no wicked thing before my eyes. I'm not going to be with the froward heart. I'm not going to turn aside to them that do wickedness. I hate the work of them that do wicked. He's turning his heart and even meditating it to himself that this is the type of heart I'm going to have before Yah. I'm going to dwell in a perfect way. It's not necessarily over righteous, but knowing that we're so stuck in sin, you're better off pointing for the righteous direction. And maybe you just so happen to get there. You understand? If you can't throw 100 yards, at least aim for 100 yards. You might get to 60.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I couldn't on that. Brother, I'm glad that you brought up Job, and and also we look at King Dawid, but Job, think about it. It says in scripture he was a righteous man, upright man with all, okay? And he prayed consistently. He prayed a lot. He even prayed and also tried to make an atonement for his children. If they did not, he thought they didn't pray. You understand? He was going to try and do something for them, toward the Father, to cover them. And we can be a good father, be a good priest to cover his children, right? But you got to think about it. If we think about the trial that man went through, he lost basically everything he had. And then his body was in total rack pain. All right? And then he would not curse the Father. And his wife came against him because she couldn't stand to see him wrapped in pain. Okay? But how much of strength did that man have? He didn't even realize he had this. Because why? He been practicing righteousness and changing any little evil thing that may have come up in his mind or his heart. He changed it, repented before the Father. So he was always practicing. So when game day came, which he thought may never have come, because he was doing Yahweh's will, came.
That was game day.
Game day. And he played well.
His heart was perfect.
That's right. Can we say we can play half as well, or a quarter, or an eighth as well as this man played?
We'd have been out of bounds.
That's right.
Right.
So this is what we talk about is righteousness. This is what we talk about uplifting before Yah. Because he practiced the way he was meant to go on. And he held his mouth for Yah. Except for one thing, and Yah checked him on that. He knew how much his servant was in pain. Yet he checked him on that same thing. Okay? So when we look at that type of stuff, we look at King David when he's the apple of Yahweh's eye, right? Yeah, he did a lot of bad things he shouldn't have done. But yeah, guess what? He repented when Yahweh brought it to his mind. He literally cried out for the Father. Repented is evil work before the Father. That's why Yahweh sees the apple of my eye. Because he truly showed his heart. He was sorry and changed his evil way. You reading a beautiful prayer right now. How he tried to continue to keep his mind changed so the iniquity in this world, right, don't happen to his heart and he don't give unto himself unto it. Because it's too easy for us to do that.
Easy.
So it's a very good point you made, brother.
Indeed.
Right. And in keeping that law and being perfect, there's laws for repentance.
Yes.
There's laws in here specifically telling how do you repent, and how the adversary tries to get us to say, look, you ain't perfect. You fail. Just stay down there and worship me, and I'll give you everything. But it says a righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets back up. So in reaching this perfection, the perfection is to depart from sin, avoid sin. But if you find yourself in it, wipe yourself off, clean yourself up, get up and don't beat yourself up. Figure out how can you avoid it, but understand that you're going to fall. But don't let it be, I'm going to fall, so that looked like a good one right there to fall for. That's not what that means. That perfection was his ways was perfect.
Right.
Not he was perfect. Yeshua was perfect because he wasn't conceived in sin. But at the end of the day, our ways can be perfect if our ways is like Yah's way, in the way that he gave us in these laws, statutes, and judgments.
Indeed.
Tehillim chapter 101, and we're at verse 7. He that worketh deceit shall not dwell within my house. He that tells lies shall not tarry in my sight. I will early destroy all the wicked of the land, that I may cut off all the wicked doers from the city of Yahweh.
That is a beautiful meditation from Dawid. And let's hear some more how Dawid plans to do what's righteous. In 2 Samuel 22, we're going to read verses 1 to 29.
All right. 2 Samuel chapter 2.
22.
22. Second Samuel chapter 22 and verse 1. And Dawid spake unto Yahweh the words of this song in the day that Yahweh had delivered him out of the hand of all his enemies and out of the hand of Saul. And he said, Yahweh is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, the all of my rock. In him will I trust. He is my shield, the horn of my salvation, my high tower and my refuge, my Savior. You saved me from violence. I will call on Yahweh, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from mine enemies. When the waves of death compassed me, the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of the grave compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress, I called upon Yahweh and cried to my Elohim, and he did hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter into his ears.
So it sounds like there's deliverance on the way for Dawid for praising and seeking Yah with all his heart, mind, and soul.
Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of heaven moved and shook because he was mad. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also, and came down, and darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub, and did fly, and he was seen upon the wings of the wind. And he made darkness pavilions round about him, dark waters and thick clouds of the skies.
All right, hold on. So do we understand why all this happened? All of this only happened because he said Dawid prayed. He said right here in verse 7, in my distress I called upon Yahweh and cried to my Elohim, and he did hear my voice. And out of his temple, hear my voice out of his temple, and my cry did enter his ears. And right after it says, then the earth shook and trembled. This is the extent, and this is the distance Yah is ready to go for an obedient servant. Don't we want those same responses for us? Like, Yah, do you hear me when I pray? When I'm going through my hard times and the tears is welling up in my eyes, are you hearing me? Are the foundations of the earth about to be shook on my behalf? Surely it shall be, being that we obeying his commandments. Israel is the apple of his eye. Yasharal is the apple of his eye. He's going to tear the clouds and tear the mountains in half for our sakes. Yah hears us. And if we do what's righteous, we'll get this same deliverance. If we see how hot his anger is for our wickedness, how merciful and kind and gentle and loving will his favor be for our obedience. He's not iniquitous. Yahweh does things with even scales. If you see all the hardship and the hatred and all the wrath going on in the world towards sin, what do you think is going to be for righteousness when there's goodness done? It's anything as beautiful as you can imagine is going to be that.
Right. 2 Samuel chapter 22 and verse 13. Through the brightness before him were coals of fire kindled.
All for his servant.
Yahweh thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice. And he sent out arrows and scattered them, lightning, and has discomfited them. And the channels of the sea appeared. The foundations of the world were discovered, and the rebuking of Yahweh at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. He sent from above. He took me. He drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy and from them that hated me, for they were too strong for me. They prevented me in the day of my calamity, but Yahweh was my stay. He brought me forth also into a large place. He delivered me because he delighted in me.
Praise God.
Yahweh rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanliness of my hands hath he recompensed me. For I have kept your ways, kept the ways of Yahweh, and have not wickedly departed from my Elohim. For all his judgments were before me, and as for his statutes, I did not depart from them.
So far we've read about a bunch of people who have departed and who have wickedly departed from Elohim. And we see that the recompense is anger. And even when they did depart from him, he still showed them mercy, like, no, do the right thing.
Right.
But here we're seeing that there's nothing but a jealous love. Like, touch not my servant, do my anointed no harm. Because he's doing the things I asked him to do. He's doing the things I've been asking Israel to do from the beginning. And now we're seeing this glorious deliverance on behalf of Dawid because he decided to humble himself before Yah and be an example for the people around about him.
Right. And it was not only for him, but for his nation as
Indeed.
well. He didn't run away from his calling, whatever that may be, whether it was the herding the sheep, watching his sheep, whether it was to fetching stuff to bring to his brothers, or whether if it was to take down Goliath. Whatever the calling was, he stepped up and he did his thing, and he used the commandments to light up his path. And when the evil and the wicked came against him, all he had to do was cry. And his father heard him because the angels was already around him, because he's keeping his vessel in a manner that can be used.
Indeed.
Man, I sound manly, you know what I mean, by sitting down and crying.
Hey, you come to him childlike.
Just want to say, man, I sound manly. You know, after he did all his warrior type tactics, you know, and then obeyed his father by feeding his brothers, stuff like that, and then fighting Goliath, so forth. But yet later on, when something that came against him that he could not fight against, that Yahweh didn't give you the strength to fight against, he gave him a different level of strength. He said, no, my son, look in your heart and call on me. Cry out to me. I got this. I will contend with the one that contends with you. You know? So it doesn't seem manly that we wasn't taught not to, we were taught not to cry. You know what I mean? We ain't supposed to shed no tears. You know what I mean? Suck it up. That's what I was taught all my life. And I know a lot of people was taught the same thing. But that causes stress. That destroys your heart. That causes, how you say, issues within thyself. So why shouldn't we cry? Are we God's children? Are we like little sheep unto him? We supposed to cry unto Father, Abba, Father. Help me, Father. I'm doing what you want me to do. Now I need you. I'm weak in this area. I'm like a little child. I can't sustain myself. I can't fight against this tumult that's coming against me. I need your help. You know, so that's what he asks us to do. And you'll be like a shot, an arrow to us if we obey the Father. You know, and that's the whole thing. We are trying to learn how to obey. Because our fathers didn't teach this. You understand? So we don't have any representatives that in our days showing us day by day, year by year, on how we're supposed to live our life. You know? So we have to get it through our Father that teaches through the scripture every day. And we go through our trials and errors and our stumbles and scrapes and bruises and so forth to learn what Yahweh teaches us to do. You know, it takes time. This is a process for us.
And there's things that we've done that I'm sometimes even ashamed to mention in secret. You know, I'm trying to refrain from even repeating it. You understand?
I understand.
You know, it's shameful, but at the same time, it's like he had so much favor with Yah that he found deliverance, whereas we saw other servants getting killed for less. You know, so it means something, and I think Yahweh let that be there so we can know that our obedience has more power than our rebellion and our wickedness.
That's right.
That a love covers a multitude of sins. It can absolve the wrongs. That doesn't mean go do some wrong because you plan to love later.
Right.
But it's showing that this love and this understanding and the wisdom of Yah has more power than the ways of the enemy and the rebellions.
Right. And it shows too that, a man of Yahweh's heart can fall to sin, then, and was forgiven, that there's a chance for us as well. Because, if he was like, oh, well, he's perfect, he can never mess up, and look what he did, you feel like, well, I can never meet that standard. I can't, because it's possible. Men are doing it. Yeah. But when you see a man like Dawid fall, and you fall to something that may not be it to that level, at least it lets you know, okay, well, Dawid fell from that floor all the way down. I fell from here. So let me get some of that mercy.
And it still hurt, but
let me get some of that mercy. Let me get some of that mercy, because he's being merciful, that even a servant that did, with Ezekiel saying, that day that man stops that righteousness, the day that he dies. So we have that same opportunity. To much is given, much is expected. So don't think that you're going to take Dawid type falls and feel like you're going to be able to come back from that.
That was him.
2 Samuel chapter 22, and we're at verse 24. I was also upright before him and kept myself from my iniquity. Therefore Yahweh have recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanliness in his sight. With the merciful you will show yourself merciful, and with the upright man you will show yourself upright. With the pure you will show yourself pure, and with the froward you will show yourself unsavory. So a perfect example is Dawid. When Dawid had Saul in that cave,
Yes.
he showed himself merciful. He even put his life before the king. Like, look, if you want to kill me, kill me. But at the end of the day, he was merciful to Saul. He had every reason to kill Saul, but he understood that's Yahweh's anointed. If Yahweh want to take him out, Yahweh will take him out. It ain't gonna be me. But I put my hand on Yahweh's anointed. So he showed himself merciful to Saul. So when he had another man killed, Yahweh showed himself merciful to him. Like, look, you had no reason to kill that other man, but when you had a reason to kill this man here, you showed yourself merciful. At least when you had your eyesight, you showed yourself merciful. And you were in a lower state. You weren't at the top and didn't show yourself merciful. You were in a lower state and you still showed mercy. So maybe that's why Yahweh showed him a little bit more mercy in his situation with Bathsheba.
Indeed.
I'm glad you said that, brother, because it shows his character. It really shows his heart, and it shows his obedience and his love for the Most High. Because when he was dealing with Nabal, and his wife came in return and tried to straighten all that out, and humble herself before him, and was trying to bless him, with all this food and wine and respect that her husband obviously had no clue on how to do. He had his own self-righteousness. I mean, you could have said, well, you know what, Gabby? Look, Gabby, I like this food, I like this wine. We're going to take that because we're hungry. You understand? We was watching all y'all stuff, but we was hoping you'd do better for us, but nobody mess with y'all stuff. But, and by the way, you fine too, But look, I'm going to go deal with your husband because he still showed me a heavy level of disrespect. But I want this food and wine. No, he didn't roll like that. He showed his mercy, he showed his respect. You understand? Because that woman took the time to come out there where she could have got her head chopped up and rolled on the ground, and say, no, I know who you are. Because Yahweh sent that woman to him, is what I look at. Because she followed his path, right? She knew who he was, she knew what happened to him. She gave him uproar respect. So, he's like, okay, I see where you come from. He took the fire out of his pot. You understand? He took the sword out of his hand. I ain't gonna have you like that. Okay. That's a level of mercy. That's respect. The same as what he did for the king. He ain't gonna touch Yahweh's anointed, as my brother was talking about. No. I can wax hot right now on you and chop you in a bunch of pieces. Feed you to the jackals outside if you want. But no. I respect God. I'm not gonna touch you. But I'm gonna let you know I was there. And I'm following Yahweh's commandments. his anointing that put on me, the anointing he put on him. You understand? I'm going to show you that I want to do what Yahweh said do. I hope to be a better king than you. Yahweh's mercy has to flow through me also. So, he's like, no, I ain't gonna touch you. But that shows this man's character. Because just like my brother was saying, he had a right to chop at King's Hill. Everybody knew he was after Dawid, but he didn't. So praise Yah for that. So when you read this prayer, it shows you we have to allow Yahweh to change our hearts, because we have to want righteousness. We have to, how we say, humble ourselves so Yahweh can be lifted up. Because if we don't humble ourselves, we try to lift ourselves to the Most High. No, it don't work that way. He exalts us in due time.
Indeed. Indeed.
2 Samuel chapter 22 and verse 28. And the afflicted people you will save, but your eyes are upon the haughty, that you mayest bring them down. For you are my lamp, O Yahweh, and Yahweh will lighten my darkness.
All right, so we'll just cut there at verse 29. That was an amazing prayers and some nice meditations of Dawid. So let's go over to the son of Dawid. Let's go into Luke chapter 19, and we're going to begin at 37. This is when Yeshua comes on the foal of an ass, as it says in the scriptures. Came into the city, and he was met with mixed reviews, isn't it?
All right.
Some mixed responses, but he told the truth of what needed to be said.
All right. Lucas chapter 19. What verse we starting at?
And this we're starting at verse 37, and this too shows this is the mercy of Yah manifesting to Yasharal. This was their visitation. This was supposed to be their deliverer. Whenever they moaned and groaned unto him, he sent them a deliverer. But as we know, Yahshua wasn't well received by all of his own.
Right, because they expecting judge to come. Oh, you here to restore the kingdom? They was expecting him to pull out the sword and start killing Gentiles. But no, I'm gonna get that. That'll save your body. I'm trying to save your spirit and your inheritance.
And too, brother, as far as those who feel like Yahshua didn't fulfill the role of a messianic deliverer, I mean, the way he's spoken of in the Old Testament, what condition should the people be when he returns? You understand? Israel was still in their sin.
Right.
They weren't ready to receive
if he
deliverance.
comes like that, like Isaiah 63, there's gonna be some problems. You ain't ready for him to show up.
They were not ready for him to show up in that capacity. And then on top of that, if Yahweh was to restore Israel in the condition that they were in, it would only breed more oppression. It did not benefit Yahweh to restore Israel, knowing that there's still more curses for y'all to endure.
Right.
Y'all didn't get scattered into the whole earth yet. And you still wicked. There's more to this. The more wicked you are, the more evils I have that I could pour out upon you. So now I'm sending my son, and you rejected him. So now he gives me every right to just go to the fine print of this. It was a really fine print, but this is the part that you didn't really want, that you didn't think I was going to pour out.
Right.
Yahweh's not going to benefit the wicked child.
No, he's not going to justify them.
Lucas chapter 19. We starting at what verse?
37.
And verse 37. Luke chapter 19 and verse 37. And when he was come near, even now at the descent of the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to rejoice and praise Yahweh with a loud voice for all the mighty works that they had seen, saying, Blessed be the King that comes in the name of Yahweh, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. And some of the Pharisees from among the multitude said unto him, Master, rebuke your disciples. And he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out.
Wow.
And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, If you had known, even you, at least in this your day, the things which belong unto your peace, but now they are hid from your eyes.
So it says, if you had known, at least in this day, the things that belong to your peace, if they had known that the Mashiach was there to deliver them, if they had known that Yah was wishing and intending to have mercy upon them, They wouldn't be afflicting the Mashiach like that, telling them, "Hey, tell these people stop praising you like that."
Right.
You know, tell the people, you know, not to give you so much glory. You know, you wouldn't be harboring so much hatred for your deliverance. But now he's going to tell you what they're going to inherit.
Right. Verse 43. For the day shall come upon you that your enemies shall cast a trench about you and compass you round and keep you on every side, and shall lay you even with the ground and your children within you, and they shall not leave in you one stone upon another, because you knew it not the time of your visitation. And he went into the temple and began to cast out them that sold therein, and them that brought, saying unto them, It is written, My house is the house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. And he taught daily in the temple, but the chief priests and the scribes and the chief of the people sought to destroy him, and could not find what they might do, for all the people were very attentive to hear him.
So Yahshua was still being rejected of his own. Israel still had the plague of the unclean heart. Israel still had the plague of being wise to do evil and don't know how to do what's good. So Yahshua was letting them know here that you guys are going to be delivered unto your uncleanness. And if we fast forward just a few years after that, after his crucifixion and ascension, we get into Josephus. And they were under Roman rule in this period, but they were in taxation. You know, they were allowed to
just occupy.
Yeah, they were just being occupied. You know, give us the taxes, we could maintain some. But this is Yah slowly moving his hands toward the neck of Israel that y'all don't even understand. If you would fall down and repent at this moment, I'll be returning your peace. Your peace stood right in front of you. And now because he's being rejected, the full chokehold is going to begin on you, and it's going to last for a time that you did not even expect. So this is an excerpt from the writings of Josephus, and this is where the Romans turn up the fire on Israel.
All right.
And Israel's pretty much they just moved from the Grecian captivity into the Roman captivity, and now they're getting ready to take over this whole land and drive out the Yehudim from among it.
Right.
And there's a lot of corruption and things going. If you read what's going on, there's a lot of corruption going on in the city because they're under siege, so there's no food getting in, and they're creating factions and gangs that are even oppressing the people that are in there. People eating their children,
right?
People robbing other homes for food, and you know, trading one another. Like, look, let's rob this person and trade out. You know, it's just a bunch of corruption. And Josephus is saying, look, if you yield at this point, because you've lost your right to hold Jerusalem for yourself and be in righteousness.
Right.
So if you yield at this point, maybe you can lessen the damage that you're gonna incur for all your sins. Because the only reason why these Romans are here is because of your sins, and you guys won't repent. So let's hear some more what Josephus had to say about this siege of Jerusalem.
So where are we starting from?
We're starting from right here. This is Josephus, book 5. This is War of the Jews, book 5. Chapter 9 and part 4.
All right. Flavius Josephus, the War of the Jews, book 5, chapter 9, and we're at part 4. While Josephus was making this exhortation to the Yehudim, many of them jested upon him from the wall, and many reproached him. Nay, some threw their darts at him. But when he could not himself persuade them by such open good advice, he betook himself to the histories belonging to their own nation. And he cried out aloud, O miserable creatures, are you so unmindful of those that used to assist you, that you will fight by your weapons and by your hands against the Romans? When did we ever conquer any other nation by such means? And when was it that Elohim, who is the creator of the Yehudim, did not avenge them when they did that had been injured? Will not you turn again and look back and consider whence it is that you fight with such violence, and how great a supporter you have profanely abused? Will not you recall to mind the prodigious things done for your forefathers and this holy place, and how great enemies of yours were by him subdued under you? I even tremble myself in declaring the works of Elohim before your ears, that are unworthy to hear them. However, hearken to me, that you may be informed how you fight not only against the Romans, but against Yahweh himself. In old times there was a Nechael, king of Mizraim, who was also called Pharaoh. And he came with a prodigious army of soldiers and seized Queen Shirah, and mother of our nation. What did Abraham, our progenitor, then do? Did he defend himself with this injurious person by war? Although he had 318 captains under him, and an immense army under each of them. Indeed, he deemed them to be no number at all without Elohim's assistance, and only spread out his hands towards this holy place, which you have now polluted, and reckoned upon him as upon his invincible supporter, instead of his own army. Was not our queen sent back without any defilement to her husband the very next evening? While the king of Mizraim fled away, adoring this place, which you have defiled by shedding thereon the blood of your countrymen. And he also trembled at those visions which he saw in the night season, and bestowed both silver and gold on the Hebrews, as on a people beloved of Yahweh. Shall I say nothing, or shall I mention the removal of our fathers into Mizraim, who, when they were used tyrannically and were fallen under the power of foreign kings for 400 years together, and might have defended themselves by war and by fighting, did yet not do nothing but commit themselves to Elohim? Who is there that does not know that Mizraim was overrun with all sorts of wild beasts and consumed by all sorts of distempers? How their land did not bring forth its fruits. Now the Nile failed of water. How the 10 plagues of Mizraim followed one upon another. And how by those means our fathers were sent away under a guard, because Elohim conducted them as his peculiar servants. Moreover, did not Palestine groan under the ravage the Syrians made when they carried away our sacred ark? As they did their idol Dagon, as also did their entire nation of those that carried it away, how they were smitten with loathsome distemper in the secret parts of their bodies, whom their bowels came down together what they had eaten. To those hands that stole it away were obliged to bring it back again, and that with the sound of cymbals and timbrels and other oblations, in order to appease the anger of Al for their violation of his holy ark. It was Elohim who then became our general and accomplished those great things for our fathers, and this because they did not meddle with war and fighting, but committed it to him to judge about their affairs. When Sennacherib, king of Assyria, brought along with them all Asia and compassed the city round about with army, did he fall by the hands of men? Were not those hands lifted up to Elohim in prayers, without meddling with their arms, and with an angel of Elohim destroyed that prodigious army in one night? When the Assyrian king as he rose next day, found 185,000 dead bodies, and when he, with the remainder of his army, fled away from the Hebrews, though they were unarmed and did not pursue them, you are also acquainted with the slavery, and where under Babylon, where the people were captives for 70 years, yet were they not delivered into their freedom again before Elohim made Cyrus his gracious instrument in bringing it about. Accordingly, they were set free by him, and did again restore the worship of their deliverer at the temple. And to speak in general, we can produce no example wherein our fathers got any success by war or failed of success when without war they committed themselves to Elohim. When they stayed at home, they conquered as pleased their judge. But when they went out to fight, they were always disappointed. For example, when the king of Babylon besieged this very city, and our king Zedekiah fought against him contrary to what predictions were made to him by Jeremiah the prophet, he was at once taken prisoner and saw the city and the temple demolished. Yet how much greater was the moderation of that king than is that of your present governors and of the people that were under him, that it is of you this time. For when Jeremiah cried out aloud how angry Elohim was at them because of their transgressions, and told them that they should be taken prisoners unless they were surrendered upon the city, neither did the king nor his people put him to death. But for you to pass over what you have done within this city, which I am not able to describe, as your wickedness deserves, you abuse me and throw darts at me, who only exhort to you to save yourselves, and being provoked when you are put in mind of your sins, and cannot bear the very mention of your crimes, which you every day perpetrate. For another example, when Antiochus was called Epiphanes, lay before the city, and had been guilty of many indignities before Elohim, and our forefathers met him in arms, they then were slain in the battle, and this city was plundered by our enemies, and our sanctuary made desolate for 3 years and 6 months. And what need I bring any more examples? Indeed, what can it be that have stirred up an army of the Romans against our nation? It is not the impiety of the inhabitants? Whence did servitude commence? Was it not derived from the seditions that were among our forefathers, when the madness of Aristobulus and Hyrcanus and our mutual quarrels brought Pompey upon this city? And when Elohim reduced those under subjections to the Romans, who were unworthy of liberty they enjoyed? After a siege, therefore, of 3 months, they were forced to surrender themselves, although they had been guilty of such offenses with regard to our sanctuary and our laws as you have, and this while they had much greater advantages to go to war than you have. Do not we know what end Antigonus, the son of Aristobulus, came to, under whose reign Elohim provided that this city should be taken again upon account of the people's offenses? When Herod, the son of Antipater, brought upon Sosius, and Sosius brought upon us the Roman army, they were then encompassed and besieged for 6 months, till, as punishment for their sins, they were taken, and the city was plundered by the enemy. Thus it appears that arms were never given to our nation, but they were always given up to be fought against and to be taken. For I suppose that such an inhabitant this holy place ought to commend the disposal of all things to Elohim, and then only to disregard the assistance of men when they resign themselves up to their arbitrator who is above. As for you, what have you done of those things that are recommended by our legislator? And what have you not done of those things that have condemned? How much more impious are you than those who are so quickly taken? You have not avoided so much of those sins which are usually done in secret. I mean, thefts and treacherous plots against men and adulteries. You are quarreling about rapines and murderers, and invent strange ways of wickedness. Nay, the temple itself has become the receptacle of all, and the divine place is polluted by the hands of those of our own country, whose place has been reverenced by the Romans when it was at a distance from them, when they have suffered many of their own customs to give place to our law. And after all this, do you expect him whom you have so impiously abused to be your supporter? To be sure, then you have a right to be petitioners and to call upon him to assist you, so pure are your hands? Did your king Hezekiah lift up such hands in prayer to Elohim against the king of Assyria when he destroyed that great army in one night? And do the Romans commit such wickedness as did the king of Assyria, that you might have reason to hope for the like vengeance upon them? Did not the king accept of money from our king and of his condition, that he should not destroy the city, and yet contrary to the oath he had been taken, he came down to burn the temple? While the Romans do demand no more than that accustomed tribute which our fathers paid to their fathers, and if they may but once obtain that, they neither aim to destroy the city nor to touch the sanctuary. Nay, they will grant you besides that your posterity shall be free and your possessions secure to you, and will preserve your holy laws inviolate to you.
All right, brother.
Now, just to keep in mind, I'll let you clarify some of that.
Yeah, we know that Josephus really couldn't speak.
He couldn't speak freely.
Tongue was tied.
He had to speak very favorably of the Romans.
Because we know that there was atrocities done by the Romans as well. You know, Yahweh made it clear that whenever you do wickedness, I'm going to bring a very degenerate nation over you to force you to do all sorts of wickedness. But they would not repent. Israel just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And Yahweh said, I'm going to bring the worst of the heathen.
Right.
Of whom Josephus couldn't really go into great detail about the atrocities, the full atrocities that they had committed.
But he was able to go into the atrocities of how we were worse than our forefathers, and how those men weren't doing half the wickedness that you're doing. And you have the nerve to call out to Yahweh to help you when he didn't spare these other people.
Josephus pretty much made it look like, yo, y'all need to just surrender the city because you can't lay claim to it anymore.
And don't nobody know our history like that other than our people.
That's right.
They like to put this white guy up there and show a face of some white Roman saying, oh, that was Joseph. Nah.
No.
Don't no Roman know our history like this.
Right.
Other than somebody who's been taught this from a childhood all the way up and passed from generation to generation that happened to grow up in Rome or happened to stay in Rome.
So we're going to close in Romans chapter 12.
All right.
Romans. Close in Romans chapter 12. Yahweh brought up one of the worst toward Jerusalem. And Josephus made it clear that, y'all deserve it. There's no favor, there's no mercy that can be found for y'all. Although he given so many examples of how favor and mercy is found for your forefathers.
Right. He brought up Babylon. He went. That's a good history lesson because he went through a lot of them. The recent ones in Babylon, they was doing the same thing. Like, oh man, we don't build no house here because the prophets say we gonna be out here real soon. Let's go run to Egypt. And he said, listen, every one of y'all that's running to Egypt, I'm going to destroy Egypt, by the way.
You going into captivity.
I'm with Sennacherib and all them people. I'm destroying Egypt, by the way. Because you think you're going to get refuge by them. You think you're going to run away from this judgment. And I'm going to destroy Egypt. And I'm going to destroy all of y'all that fled to Egypt because you don't want to deal with this punishment that you're in. And then I'm going to take these people out of Babylon and bring them back home. But since you want to escape the judgment, I'm going to deal with you.
The problem is that we think that we're going to just be absolved for our wrongdoing. There's no sacrifice for willful sin. You have to suffer it. You have to suffer the consequence. So when Israel is going into captivity, he's like, look, y'all been doing sacrifices all day. That's not going to help you for these adulteries that you guys are purposely doing and these extortions that y'all are purposely doing. You're going to have to bear these 70 years.
And you doing both. You doing the Yahweh, but you still leaning on that idol, hoping that he gonna come save you. Romans chapter 12 for the conclusion, and we're starting this at verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahweh, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Elohim, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Elohim. For I say through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as Elohim hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we, being many, are one body in the Mashiach, and every one members one of another.
So verse 5, so we being many are one body in Mashiach, and everyone members of one another. So Yahweh has dispersed what he has for us to do. Each job that we have to do, we need not be puffed up or prideful about what he's given us to do, because he made it that way. This cup can't say, yo, you see how cuppy I am?
Right.
I'm such a cup. But that's what he was made to do. So the same thing, even Yahshua as a leader. He didn't seek to, when people started praising him, he just walked off. He was ordained to be a leader from the beginning. Right. He was ordained to be the Mashiach from the beginning. If you're a pinky finger, guess what? Be proud that you're a pinky, and you be a pinky proudly. Do what you got to do. Don't get jealous of the thumb because the thumb is thicker or whatever. You're this for a reason. You're ordained to be that for a reason. Right. You're ordained to be a leader for a reason. You're ordained to be a helper for a reason. Understand your part, do your part, and do it within proportion as given unto you. Because remember, it says we're members of one another. Find a way to make your gifts mesh with another so that everyone can be lifted up. Another person's gain is your gain as well, because as they're lifted up, if they understand their part, they'll be lifting you up as well. And we can all rise and grow as a community.
Right. And like just with the hand, try doing something out without your thumb.
Nah, you can't.
That thumb is probably the most important finger. But try hanging on something without your pinky. Hang for your life like
that
this.
Pinky do something
without your pinky.
Everything is slipping off.
Yeah, you want that pinky, bro. You want that pinky.
And there's something about it being the furthest extremity to give you more leverage when you're holding on. When that pinky not there, everything somehow just starts slipping off. It's proportionally made to spread out evenly among your hand to hold your body weight.
Right. And when you grab something, that's the first thing that touches when you're grabbing. Use that pinky.
Understand your gifts, understand your calling, and just do it. You're an unprofitable servant at the end of the day. You are made to do what you're doing. You become profitable when you understand how to humble and bear more fruit, 60-fold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold, like Yahweh intended.
Right. Romans chapter 12 and verse 6. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us, whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith, or ministry, let us wait on our ministering, or he that teacheth on teaching, or he that exhorts on exhortation. He that gives, let him do it with simplicity. He that rules with diligence. He that shows mercy with cheerfulness. Let love be without dissimulation. Hate that which is evil. Cleave unto that which is good. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love, in honor preferring one another. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Adonai. Rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. Distributing to the necessity of saints, given to hospitality. Bless them which persecute you, bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one to another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourself, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says Yahweh. Therefore, if your enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing, you shall heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good.
Shalom, Maki. That was great reading. Great comments today. Great inputs. This is basically the way how we're going to deliver ourselves out of the wickedness, because we're going to do the things that are pleasing to Yah. And this Romans 12 is also part of that face of the Melchizedek priesthood that is all about the redemption. If somebody do you evil, don't do them evil back. Let that go. Let that die and leave that to Yah to handle. The Melchizedek priesthood is all about the redemption, the restoration, the return of the children of Yah unto Yah, the return of Yasharal unto Yah. Right. Understand what it takes. Bless them which persecute you, bless and not curse. Rejoice with them and rejoice. This is all positive and gain. There's no loss in it.
Right.
This is all about the rejuvenation and redemption of the children of Yasharal.
Right. And you look at the evil spirits out there. They're able to do and touch whoever they want to touch that don't have that covering. But they're going to be punished for doing that.
Exactly.
So there's no need for us to have to recompense that on anybody, because that judgment is coming.
It's coming. It's there.
You don't have to be the one to do it, because then he got to turn around and punish you for being the punisher.
Yeah.
So this is why it's like, listen, don't worry. They going to get theirs. Don't go for that instant gratification. Just pull back and have faith.
You know, one thing about what Josephus said, you know, is like, y'all are not a nation to be going to war like this.
Right.
The type of nation you are is the one that waits on Yah. Let the other nations glory in their missiles and they guns and things of that nature. We'll have that if time comes to be. Or he'll just send the angel to kill all 185,000 that one night. But when it comes to Yah, your priority as a nation of Yasharal is to do righteousness strictly. Do that. Be a light unto the nations.
Right.
And there's a Isaiah 30 verse that sticks out. It's verse 15, where Yahweh says, "For thus says my sovereign Yahweh, the Holy One of Yasharal, in returning and rest shall you be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength, but you would not."
Right.
So our weapons are not weapons, carnal weapons of war. Our weapon is the spirit of Yah, which has dominion over all the earth, and it's up to us what proportion you want to accept that.
That goes with Moshe when he was, but the Red Sea said, "Stand still here, you, and witness the salvation of Yah." You ain't got to do nothing. That's your confidence. Listen, I put all my work into doing this righteousness, so now I can just stand back and watch Yahweh do his thing. But we can't have that kind of faith because we're not doing the works with it, and the works that go with that is keeping the reasonable service.
Your reasonable
Elohim to
service.
keep the commandments.
That's the whole duty of man.
All right. Praise Yah. Great class, brother.
Shalom, my king.
Shalom.
Glory to Yah. Any questions, comments? All right, let us close out in prayer.
All right.
Brother Yadon, would you like to close us out?
All right. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yashak, Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yahshua, we thank you, Yahweh, once again for providing us a means and a desire to come together, Yahweh, and to rightly divide your word, Yahweh. We thank you for the Holy Spirit of truth that you allow to reside with us, Yah. And we ask you humbly, through your mercy, Yahweh, that you allow that spirit to remain with us, Yahweh, when we walk about in the world, Yahweh, allowing us to be that dim light, Yahweh, out here amongst darkness, Yahweh, so that we can look towards this narrow path and find our other lights that are amongst us, Yahweh, and unite and become a brighter light, Yahweh, to lead our nations back towards you, back towards your holy temple, Yahweh, and also to help gather those of the special vessels that you have called that are not of our nation, Yahweh. For we understand that is your purpose, is that all man, every knee shall bow and come before you, Yah. So, Yah, we ask you, Yah, in your mercy, Yahweh, to please forgive us of our sins and trespasses, Yahweh. Do not close our ears and our eyes, but allow us to have a sliver of light enough for us to see the error in our ways, Yahweh, and see the error in each other's ways, Yahweh, so that we can help each other gently back in the right path, Yah. Yahweh, again, we thank you for providing this class for us and this means, Yahweh. We ask you to bless all the viewers and bless all those that work to put this together, Yah, so that we could come together in our pinky and our little toes and our big ears and everything that is come together, Yahweh, for your glory. These things we thank and pray in Yahshua HaMashiach's name. Amen.
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 Yeah.
people are still commenting later and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's streamed, but
I don't know.
Makes you question. Every Shabbat, where is that again? Description?
I know it's in the Old
I can't
Testament.
remember just right
it's
now.
in two different places.
Yeah, it is.
It's in Isaiah.
I know that Barry
Isaiah 45. Isaiah 45:23.
Every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess.
Barry made some good comment earlier, but I just got about it.
What he doesn't understand is that he's still caught up in the carnality of it. Everybody gonna bow down to that word, bro. You gonna have to come before that word, and they gonna open up the book of life, and they gonna judge you based on that word. They're not gonna judge you based upon what you want to believe. That book is written. It is what it is. That book ain't changing. The only book that's changing is the book of your life.
Yep.
That's the only book that's changing. Now, that unchangeable, every tongue gonna confess when you up there like, no, I didn't, no, I know I did this, I didn't do that, but